We are all equal. It's time that we're all heard. Hello, welcome to A Voice for All. I'm Jahmeelah. Sorry if my voice is a little bit off. I am suffering from a cold. Thank you, kindergartens. This is a very, very special show for me because getting into the field, I have always admired this organization. I actually applied many times when I was getting into the field, and I'm really, really excited to have them on the show and dedicating the entire show to Geneva Centre for Autism. If you do not know about Geneva, well, this is the best show for you. You will learn just a small amount of the big work that they do, so I hope you enjoy today's show. My first guest is V. Welcome, V, to A Voice for All.
Thank you for having me.
I heard you had a cold too. How are you feeling?
I have a one-year-old in daycare, so I'm getting used to it by now.
Well, welcome to the field of flu season with children.
Perfect.
So I want to start off, how did you get into this field? What made you get into this line of work?
Well, many moons ago, and probably 20 pounds lighter, I did a high school co-op placement in a high school, actually, and it was an integrated class.
Right.
And there were a couple of teens who, you know, they kind of did their own kind of repetitive behaviors, and I was always kind of interested in, you know, why that kind of happened. And then over the years, you know, I started to work with children as well. And then I began working with adults. And one of the reasons why I began to work with adults is because I realized that children become adults.
Right. They grow up, believe it or not.
There are going to be services and supports that are going to be required for them, you know, to enhance their quality of life in the community. So it's been, I've been doing this now for about 10 years.
Good for you. Yeah. And what do you enjoy most about what you do?
There's a lot of success stories, you know, and I think those success stories often can be small and big. And then the big ones, you know, are often, someone's been able to find a job, someone's working full-time, someone's working part-time. Those are great, but I always kind of look at the smaller successes, you know, whether someone's been able to transition really well from one place to another, you know, or if someone's, you know, or someone's had a day in which, you know, they haven't had, you know, an outburst, you know. So I mean, those are typically some of the things that, you know, I find the most rewarding.
That's good, and it is those small things too. I know teaching, it could be if one of my students writes their name or, you know, responds other than no. They use that other word called yes.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I like that too. So we have you on today to talk about Geneva Centre's adult services. Give us some insight onto that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Geneva Centre for Autism has been in service now for about 40 years, and it's always been, it's had its roots really in supporting children and families. But the one thing that people don't really know is that Geneva Centre has been supporting adults now for 10 years, at least 10 years.
You know what, I actually did not know that. So.
Yeah, and previous to that, you know, and these are just our funded programs. Previous to that, we had some kind of like social groups and evening groups that took place for our adults, but it's been over a decade now. It's been over a decade in which we've supported our adults in finding employment, in furthering opportunities for volunteering and going back to school and improving their skills, whether it be in college or in university. So there's been a lot that's happened within our department over the past little while. And one of the great things in terms of the framework in which we work from is it's really about the client. It's really about that person and their choices and really what they want. In kind of like the older models, you know, we often see people say, well, I'm the expert. You have autism, you're really good at this, right? Therefore, this is the type of job you should have. The thing that impresses me the most about, you know, my colleagues and the work that we do in our funded program, which is called Pathways for Extended Learning, it's really about that person. You know, they're the ones that come up with their passions, they're the ones that come up with their dreams and their specific goals, and we just work with that.
Now, if I remember from going to school, that's person-centered planning, correct?
It's person-directed planning and it's person-directed values, and it's really the approach that indicates that that person, first and foremost, is the one who makes their own decisions. And people outside, whether it be the families, whether it be the service providers, neighbors, community members, they're the ones that really kind of help guide that process with them, but not necessarily us telling them, like, you know what, we think this is what's best for you.
And you know what, even in my day-to-day work, I have to remind myself sometimes too, because I'll be working with a client or a student, And I'm so focused on making sure they achieve this goal. And I'm like, they have to achieve this. They have to achieve this. And I go, but wait a second. Is this something they even want to achieve? Is this something that they're interested in? So I sometimes have to tell myself, take a step back and reassess, and is this something that's practical for the person? I remember there was, when I was in school, there was a professor of mine, and he had a client who, she liked to break the glass, pieces of glass, plates, anything. And they thought it was a behavior. And when they really sat down and they went over her likes and everything, they realized it was a sensory need. So they got her a job at the recycling plant.
Perfect.
And she was able to, you know, break glass all day long between 9 and 5.
Right.
You know, anything past that. So what else is Geneva doing for adults?
Well, we also have actually our non-funded programs. So these are fee-for-service like programs. We actually just recently, it was about a year ago, we opened up our Monarch Cafe, and it has its own website. It's www.monarchcafe.ca, and this is a 6-month job training program that supports individuals who are 18 to 29. Sorry, 16 to 29. I apologize for that. And part of the Monarch Cafe is really giving, you know, a lot of our participants the real life experience of working in like a food-like retail industry. You know, so part of it is to spend a couple weeks, you know, in the classroom, you know, doing the curriculum pieces, and then they're there. Then they jump right in and they actually do a lot of the day-to-day operations. They're there making sandwiches, serving customers, you know, serving coffee, working the cash, cleaning up the premises.
Wow. So describe to us how they feel. Like, I know it's one thing to say, oh yeah, they feel great, but I'm sure there's more to that.
Yeah, I mean, it really enables them, you know, to kind of apply what they're really good at and what they really enjoy. And the great thing about this program is, you know, it's it's about them. It's, you know, they've identified that this is their goal. This is exactly what they want to do, right? So they want to pursue a career in hospitality or culinary arts. You know, so it brings great value to them. And then another piece around that program too is it really enables them afterwards, you know, to kind of pad their resume, but to also, you know, further explore other employment opportunities and or volunteer opportunities. And that's a big part of the program as well.
That sounds
after
amazing.
They've graduated.
That's good. After they graduated, which leads me to my next question. I'm sure you know as well that when adults, whether it's autism or any disability for that matter, they reach that lovely age of, is it 21, is it? It's like, okay, good job. Yeah. Gave you what you need. Now,
see you later.
Off you go.
See you later. Yeah.
What does Geneva do to help those adults who are 21 and over, whose parents are now starting to worry what's going to happen with my son or daughter, and for the individual themselves who feels like, you know, they had something? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to acknowledge the fact that it's a really scary time. It's an incredibly scary time for a lot of our families, right? I mean, you're in school, you're kind of in a bit of a sheltered system, all the teachers know you, you know, and now you're off to kind of fend for yourself, and it truly is a scary, scary time. What families really need to know that a lot of our quote-unquote like funded programs, so those are programs that the Ministry of Community and Social Services pay us to deliver. They go through now a single central entity, which is known as Developmental Services Ontario, so otherwise known as the DSO. And a lot of our programs are funded through that. So families need to know that. Families need to know that. I mean, once that threshold is reached at the age of 21, and families say, well, where do we go? There's no clear flow that takes place. Once that happens, you know, we definitely encourage a lot of families to start calling the DSO because
or dropping them off at the doors.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Primarily because, you know, the earlier you register for services and supports, the more likely something will kind of take place. And there's like a huge variety of different types of programs out there. And Developmental Services Ontario, and we're part of the 30+ agencies that are part of that. There's programs for community participation support, so like things like day programs, skill building programs. There's also residential supports for a lot of people who are either looking to move out, probably need a worker to kind of drop in every so often, and just to check up on things. You know, there's that traditional group home type of setting. And then there's the family service workers too, which, I mean, part of their role is to kind of create short-term goals, you know, so that, and then refer you to to the appropriate kind of programs and services that are available. And then there's person-directed planning, and person-directed planning is really near and dear to me, actually, as a planner for the Geneva Centre. And that's really about identifying the person's strengths, what they're really good at, and in addition to that, kind of building the dream, and then from there, the smaller goals, and breaking that down to specific actions, and bring people in to help with that as well. So the Geneva Centre is part of kind of like a planning network. There's 8 different agencies that actually facilitate this plan. And planning is really good when there is a transition period, when families are scratching their head thinking, we don't know what to do. We absolutely do not know what to do. What's out there, what's available for people.
Okay. So you've definitely opened our eyes and our minds as to what's going on in our community. Just to wrap up, 10 seconds, give us one key point that you think the community can do to embrace adults with disabilities.
Compassion and acceptance.
Compassion
I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, the values of our organization are really about compassion, trust, and collaboration. And our adults are everywhere. I mean, the most recent statistic is 1 in 88 individuals get diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. So there are people out there in the community doing regular things. Yeah. Right. And it's all about collaboration. It's all about being together in the community.
Well, V's definitely given us some great insight as to what we could do as a community for adults with disabilities. If you have any further questions, or you like to get involved in what Geneva Centre is doing, perhaps apply for a job. The information is at the bottom. You can find it at the end of the show. And that's not it. We have another part to the show at Geneva Centre. Thank you so much, B, for being a guest. You were fantastic. You gave us great insight. And I hope you get over your cold and great shortly. So Voice for All, we'll see you after the break. Geneva Centre for Autism. For more information, visit www.autism.net. You can email them at info@autism.net or call them at 416-322-7877. Welcome back to our Voice for All. If you're just tuning in, shame on you. You should have tuned in from the beginning. We had a great interview, but we have an even better one following. If you want to get involved in discussion, feel free to tweet me, join the Jam Fam. What other social media do I have? Anything you see at the bottom of the screen, hop on board. I'd love to hear from you. Our next guest is Mr. Andrew Davis, also from Geneva Centre. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You are the 4th man, I think, we've had on the Voice for All.
It's a small field for the men in this population, but you know what? We are here, and we are very dedicated to serving the area. Well,
we appreciate the small group of men that make a big difference in the field. So tell me, what got you into the field? A field that is, like you said, mostly filled with women. What made you do this line of work?
Well, it actually started back in university, in my 3rd year psychology course, and I learned about this thing called autism, and I thought it sounds fascinating. I think that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Really? Just like that?
Kind of just like that. I thought, I'll go off, I'll do some research, get my master's, PhD, but I should probably meet someone with autism first. I thought that was the first step. And
Good idea.
That brought me to Geneva Centre.
Wow. So what do you do at Geneva Centre?
I've had a number of roles, and I started off hands-on in the early intervention programs, one-on-one therapy. I had planned to be there for about 6 months, and within that time I realized I was just scratching the surface. There was so much more for me to learn about autism.
Wow.
I made the decision then that I will stay at Geneva Centre until I learned as much as I could, and then I'd go on and do the master's and PhD and all that stuff. Well, 10.5 years later, I'm still at Geneva Centre, still learning as much as I can.
You cannot stop learning in this field. Things are constantly changing.
Exactly, and that's what I've learned. So I've decided to stay in this field, and through early intervention, through supervisory work there, it's brought me into the Training Institute, where now I get to share a lot of my experiences and expertise with a wide variety of people, including parents and professionals.
And speaking of the Training Institute, I had the pleasure of attending my first Training Institute in the summer, and it was phenomenal. The days that I went, it was like going back to college, but a fresh new look on things.
It's a special type of energy that we get at those summer training institutes, and it's always amazing. It's always a fun thing for us to do. I was presenting in one of the other rooms.
Yes, you were.
For part of that, and it's the energy and the enthusiasm and the invigoration that people get out of those 2 or 3 days that they attend. I think spreads through the course of the school year. It's an event for educators, that one in particular. And I think we get a lot of feedback of people saying that after attending an event like that, they feel energized for the rest of the school year to start working with those kids with autism and doing things that they didn't already know how to do.
And at the same time, you know, when you're working with the same people, sometimes you may come across that one colleague who's, oh, you know, I'm tired, I don't know if this is for me, but you come to the training institute, you meet people from all over Ontario,
Absolutely.
and then you pick up ideas, you make contacts. I really liked the vibe that was going on there.
Absolutely, and that's kind of one taste of a thing that we do. We do a lot of different things in Training Institute. You mentioned across Ontario. We do a lot across Ontario, but we are actually able to go anywhere that people want us. It's one of the things that people don't realize about Training Institute is that because we're not government funded for our programs, if someone calls us up in Vancouver and says, can you come out and help us with something? Absolutely, we can.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even the webinars too, because I remember Barry and was it London that were tuning in
Barry,
to that
London.
Training Institute?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we have our webinar technology that we've been doing for several years now. And we've been expanding with this and playing with it in a couple different ways, and we've actually moved to fully online courses as well. So for people who can't tune in at the exact right time or are coming from a different time zone, they
really
can
convenient.
they can take full courses. Right now, our major online courses in applied behavior analysis. At the end, they get a certificate that says they've done it. There's testing. It's very serious. And people are loving it. We are getting people from Switzerland, India, Denmark, all over.
Really?
Online is a whole new ball game for us now.
Wow, I never knew it reached
Absolutely.
such far audiences. And what I liked was when you mentioned the certificate that comes with it. My Peel Board staff.
Yeah.
Please, if you are looking to expand your skills, freshen up on those skills, you need to go on the Geneva Centre website and sign up for these online courses because it works to your schedule, you know, and it's not like you just do it online and then that's it. You have that certificate.
You have the certificate that we realize a lot of people are looking for. They want the recognition to go back to their employers, or if they're looking for a job or a teaching job, to say, you know, we have someone who's credible that recognizes the work that we've done and that we've put in, and they have something to show for it. And on top of that, with the online piece, we've gone a step and beyond what a lot of online courses have done, is that we've still maintained some direct interaction. So when you take an online course with us, every couple of weeks you'll sign into an online chat, and you might get my face, who pops up there and will guide you through part of the tutorial, kind of checking in to make sure that you really understood the material, that you didn't just hit play, do some laundry, make some dinner, and get the credit, right? We check in and say, did you understand that? Did you have questions? Give me an example of how that applies. And people say that really makes a difference because they don't feel like they're on an island taking this course.
Now, are there any accommodations for people who may be online, who may have a disability of some sort that kind of breaks it down for them or makes it a little bit more accessible?
We do, and we can work with that. So we always ask people to contact us, write in. They can send an email in to us and let us know what supports that they need. If needed, someone can come to our site and talk to someone. The courses that we offer online, we also still offer in class. So if that's a better learning opportunity, we offer that as well. But also we can enable microphones, video chats. So if someone can't type in their responses, we can enable a web camera and give them access to come and talk to us instead of typing everything in.
Wow, and I'm glad you said that, because for anyone who's tuning in who may have a disability of some sort, you heard the options that are available. There's plenty of options that still allows you to get your education, to work and be a part of your community, and to offer what you know to others. So that's amazing that you guys have that.
Great. Yeah, it's been a popular option, and some people are a bit camera shy. They say, no, I'm good. I'm just going to type away here. But to know that it's an option, we find that it's something that isn't present in all the other online offerings that we're seeing out there. So we're always about making information accessible to whoever needs it. And I'm glad that you mentioned, some of the free online stuff that we have on our e-learning site that you can find through autism.net, because although it says it's a course for educators, really this is a course for anyone. We found that the money came in through the Ministry of Education that said, we like what you're doing with the summer education piece.
Yes.
Can you expand that to something online? So we did that, but we said, can we take it a step further and make this available to everyone? So even if you're not an educator, you can go in there, you just type in a particular access code that says, no, I'm just general public, and you can take 12 modules, about 6 hours worth of training information on everything from what is autism all the way down to the sensory challenges, communication needs, how to create visual schedules, transitioning. It's a whole wide range of information.
And another key point you just brought up, the general public. Employers, even if you have a colleague who you work with, maybe you want to know more about autism, maybe you want to connect with that person, but you don't necessarily want to go to a college or a university and get that diploma or degree. E-online program, that's fabulous, that anyone can feel that they could go on and learn. So there really is no excuse.
There's no excuse. And,
Wow.
and especially in Training Institute, we hear everything. We get requests, whether it is we're just looking for information on something a little bit about this. We can do half-hour consultations, or we can do 10-day consultations. We can go into the classrooms. We can go into employment offices, and
Wow.
we often get requests from corporations that say, a lot of our staff have kids with autism. Our employees want to know more about this. Can you do something for us? Anything from first responders to helping police officers understand autism a little bit better. We talk to a lot of people throughout all different communities and just try and help them solve the needs that they have around getting autism education and awareness.
So really, going back to what we said, there is no excuse. And you're hearing there's a lot of stories in the media of persons with disabilities, people with autism, children vanishing who have autism. The resources are out there. There's people like Andrew, there's people like V. Geneva Centre as a whole, I have, like I said, so much appreciation and admiration for what Geneva Centre is doing and what they're doing for the community, educating us, educating families, supporting
Absolutely.
families.
And I think the key message is that if you have a question, call in, especially Training Institute, because, like I said, we're not tied to particular geographic boundaries because of funding. We can often provide solutions, and I think people often don't realize that just because you're in Peel or in Brampton or in Oakville, you can still call Geneva Centre.
I was just going to ask you that.
There's often things that we can do. Or direct you to our free online courses or our more advanced courses, which are fee for service. But there's a lot of things that we can do outside of the Toronto area, and people don't always realize that.
Wow. So, once again, Andrew has supplied us with another set of amazing information. And like I said, Geneva Centre has a lot to offer. You can contact them by email, by phone, their Twitter,
Our
their
Facebook page. I check our Facebook page for updates just because it's faster than me.
Yes, it is. And you know what? They connect with you. You're not waiting a couple of days to hear back from Geneva Centre. They are on board. So, Andrew, thank you so much for what you're doing.
It's been great to be here. Thank you.
I'm
Thank you for
so
what you
happy.
do.
And once again, Peel Board, parents, students, individuals, if you want to expand your wealth of knowledge, please turn to the Geneva Centre. They have a lot to offer. If you have any questions for me, feel free to tweet me, join the Jam Fam, email me. All the information is at the bottom. I love to hear from you. If you feel like you like to be on A Voice for All, I want to hear your voice. We want to hear your voice if you'd like to be a guest on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a great show, and I'll see you guys next week. Geneva Centre for Autism. For more information, visit www.autism.net. You can email them at info@autism.net. You could also call them at 416-322-7877.